What is up, maniacs, and welcome back to Broadened Horizon. I'm your host, Drake Riggs, here to bring you episode 37. On this installment of the series, we'll be joined by three first-time guests, all competing at Rising Landmark 9 on March 23rd. First up, we have one half of the evening's main event, Keita Nakamura, who returns to lightweight to try and upset the Rising champion, Roberto Satoshi de Souza. Following Keitaro will be the welterweight submission machine, the rising undefeated prospect Igor Tanabe, who faces Kiichi Kunimoto. And last but not least, it's the living Muay Thai legend himself, Buakaw Banchamek, who became a late addition to the card for a kickboxing match with Minoru Kimura. Thanks as always to our great guests for chatting, and thanks to everyone who supports the show, whether you've been watching on MMAmania.com, YouTube, or listening on Spotify. Thanks as always, and don't forget to hit like and share if you enjoy. First up, we welcome Keita Nakamura. Keita, great to see you, sir. Happy Thursday. How are you doing?
今、調子はいかがでしょうか。
調子は、減量、水抜きする前なんで、そんなにいいわけじゃないけど、いいわけじゃないです。
So you're asking me right now, I am waiting to schedule my water cut. So if you ask me right now, I'm not looking forward to it, and I'm not feeling good.
Okay, all right, understandable, man. Well, just the fight life, right? So sorry to hear that, but it's funny, Keita. Last time I caught up with your wife Shizuka, we were talking about you had just opened the gym, and this was a while ago now. But I'm curious how things have been with that, and how are you enjoying kind of running the gym?
前に、杉山静香選手と、インタビューをしたときに、ちょうどこうジムを出したときだったんですけれども、それからしばらく時間がかかって、中村選手自体、今、ジムの方はいかがでしょうか。
絶好調です。すごいいっぱい人も来てくれて。
Yeah, it's doing amazing. We're getting a lot of people coming over, stopping by.
Awesome. Happy to hear it. And was that something that you were wanting to do for a long time? I know kind of it's easier to do once you've been around for a while and you got the experience and feel of just MMA as a whole. But how long was that kind of something that you wanted to do, is open the gym?
中村選手はもともとジム経営っていうものにはやろうと昔から思ってたんですか。
はい、思ってます。
それはいつぐらいからも選手やりながら、それとも選手を一回終えてからやろうと思ってたのか、どういうタイミングで出そうと思ったんですか。
選手をやりながら、そうですね、もうキャリアの後半、今、その時期だと思うんですけど、そういう時期には、選手やってるうちにできればっていう感じです。プレッシャーもあったんで、妻から。
So I've always wanted, the plan was to always have a gym, and during I was still a fighter. So I do believe that right now, during this time of my career, it's the right time, and I have been constantly been under pressure from my wife to make this happen.
All right. Well, better late than ever, man. What has been the most difficult or challenging kind of thing of running a gym?
このジムを運営するにおいて、一番難しいなとか、大変だなと思うところはどういうところでしょうか。
やっぱり、絶対やめてしまう人がいるんで、それを止められないんですけど、そういう人たち、そういう人の人数だったりみたいなのに、メンタルを惑わされないように、ストレスたまらないようにする。
Yeah, so there's always going to be members and people who are going to leave the gym, who are not going to become a member. They want to leave. So, the amount of people who decide to leave, and, we really have no rights. I have no right to keep them. So I try to stop them, but I really can't stop them. So I try not to let that affect me mentally, because it does hit you hard when obviously when people want to leave you, it hits you hard, but I try not to let it bother me that much.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a difficult thing, especially as you get attached to people, right? And maybe if a student is, growing and going at a pace that is you're working together well, right?
感じの選手だったりとか、いい人間関係が築けてたと思った時にやめられてしまうと、やっぱり心が痛かったりする、そういうことでしょうか。
そういうこともあるし、でも多くは、なんだろ もう、一回来て、やめちゃう人がほとんどなんですよ。一回来てやめちゃう。だから、まあ、そういう、そこまですごい人間関係できた上でやめちゃうってことは、やっぱり少ない。まあ、なんか仕事の都合とかでやめちゃうことあると思います。
Yeah, so majority of what I've been experiencing is that they come once and they don't come back.
Mm.
So it's not it's rare to build up that relationship and then having people leave. But for me, it's mostly they come once and for some whatever reason they don't come back and they don't want to come back. So, those are the things that I'm experiencing right now.
All right, interesting. Well, personally, I think I might prefer that than maybe getting something established. So could be worse, possibly. But of course, we got the fight coming up here, Keita. You mentioned the water cut coming up, and we're going back to lightweight. It's been a while since you fought at this weight class, man, and I think it surprised maybe a lot of people. But I'm curious, why make the move back down? Obviously, big fight in front of you, but what kind of was behind the decision to drop back down in weight class?
中村選手、一番最初に冒頭でこれから水抜きっていうふうにおっしゃってたんですけれども、そのウェルター級を作るための水抜きだと思うんですけれども、本当に中村選手は久々のウェルター、ライト級ということなんですが、当然その次の試合は素晴らしい試合マッチアップになりますけれども、どういった理由で、ライト級に戻そうと思ったんでしょうか。
やっぱり選手、まあ、国内、この大会とか特に、ウェルター級よりやっぱりライト級の方が、選手層もちょっと熱い盛り上がりもあるし、まあ、そこで活躍できればと思ってライト級にしました。
So if you look at the current the roster in the movement in Japanese MMA, you obviously can tell that there's a lot more fights to be made in lightweight than welterweight. Ryzen has a very exciting division, a lot's going on in lightweight division, and I wanted a piece of that action. So that's why I decided to come down.
Certainly fair, man. And I mean, you're starting off with the champ, Satoshi, a very, very great opponent. And I mean, you've already fought so many talented opponents in your career, Keita. So many that it's hard to count them all. But like on paper, haven't fought him yet. But where are you kind of ranking Satoshi amongst your expectations of the toughest opponents you've fought so far? Where do you think he's going to fall?
そんな中、次の相手は、ソーザ選手なんですけれども、ソーザ選手も本当に素晴らしい、強い選手だと思います。そんな中で中村選手はもう、ありとあらゆる相手とやってきている、本当に経験豊富な選手でたくさんのファイターとやってきていると思うんですが、その中で、今のソーザ選手は自分が過去に戦ってきた相手の中で、どこら辺の位置にランク付けしますか？
まあでも、そうですね、UC で戦ってきた相手たちと遜色はないと思ってます。
So I feel that Satoshi is no different than any of my opponents that I fought in the UFC. He's right up that alley. He's right there.
Of course, yeah, very good fighter. He's the champ for a reason. And I mean, obviously he's known for his jiu-jitsu, right? So obviously going on the ground will be kind of the scariest part of possibly fighting him, Keita. But do you think, it's one of those things where you've seen it all, you fought all these guys, like I said, that nothing will really surprise you anymore? I mean, how do you kind of look at it from that expectation?
本当にソーザ選手といえば寝技だと思うんですけれども、中村選手はその中でも寝技の強い選手、本当にいろんな選手たちとやっています。その中で充実がすごく突き抜けて強い選手の印象ってどういうふうに思われますか？
まあ、大体ほとんどはやっぱりそっちに寝技、グラウンドに偏る形ですけど、まあ、サトシは打撃も覚えてきてるし、まあ、やっぱりちゃんと打撃も覚えた選手が上に行ってる、まあ、UC だったりすると、ギルバート・バーンズとか、打撃もめちゃくちゃ強いんで、まあ、そういう選手に近い選手なのか。
So obviously, when you fight Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys who have great world-class technique, they kind of want to rely on that. But modern MMA has kind of been different, and you have to be able to strike in order to fight an MMA fight. And I do believe that Satoshi has been working on his striking. He likes to exchange. He's not shy to exchange. And the jiu-jitsu guys with proper striking, those are the guys that make it to the top. When you look at Gilbert Burns, he's one of the very successful MMA fighters that have a heavy Brazilian jiu-jitsu background with great striking. So I do think that Satoshi is becoming one of those fighters, and he's definitely a threat.
Yeah, a great example and a great comparison there, man. No doubt about it. And it's very interesting, Keita. Looking at your career again, fought all these guys, and now going back to lightweight, having this new kind of pool of possible opponents, but with already a very full career that you've already had, and now the gym on top of it, staying very busy, man. I'm curious, like, how much longer are you wanting to fight for? I'm not suggesting that you should stop anytime soon, but if you think about win this fight and then get a rematch fight for the title, like that'd be a pretty great ending to a career. That would be a nice way to go out as the champ. But are you kind of thinking about that kind of stuff at all?
中村選手は本当に今までもう素晴らしいキャリアを持ってここまでいて、で、さらにここ日本でライジンで、定期的に戦えるようになってきてるんですけれども、今ここでライト級に落として新しいファイターとしてのチャプターを迎えるって思うんですけれども、中村選手はその先、このライト級に落としてから新しいチャプターの先はどれくらい続けようと思ったんですかっていうのも、今回勝って、で、タイトルマッチでまた勝って、チャンピオンとして引退できるんだったら最高のストーリーにはなると思うんですけれども、中村選手自身ではどれくらい、ここからどれくらい続けるっていう意思を持っているでしょうか。
そうですね。チャンピオンのまま引退するのもありですけど、多分、それはなかなか許されるのかわかんないですけど、許されるかどうかも関係なく引退しちゃうっていうのもありだと思うんですけど。でも3、4年ぐらいは全然いける。大きな怪我も、間接的なものはない。目の怪我とかできると思います。
Yeah, so now that you've mentioned it, I think it's a great idea to retire as a champ. I'm not sure if they're going to allow me. I'm not sure if it's going to be allowed, but that is a very interesting way to put it. But with all that said, I do believe that my body will still move for another 3-4 months. I don't have any big injuries in terms of joints. All my joints are still healthy. I did have some issues with my eye, but in terms of joints and body wise, I'm still healthy. I think I can still go for another 3 or 4 years.
Okay. All right. That's awesome to hear, man. Yeah. Got to stay healthy, of course. And I'm curious, Keita, it obviously depends on how a lot of things go with the future of not just your fighting, but, maybe the promotion rising, moving around globally and whatnot. But would you ever want to fight in America again? And just kind of how do you reflect on, your UFC time period? And, was it enjoyable enough, or did you kind of get that out of the way with America, or is that something that interests you, essentially?
日本でまた新しいキャリアを再出発してるんですけれども、ライジンもいろいろと国際的なことをやってみたりとか、大きくなっている中で、中村選手はまたアメリカで試合してみたいっていう、そういう気持ちはあったりしますか？本当にUFC の2回、契約して戦っていますが、もう UFC は満足なのか、それとももう一回また行ってみたい、もう一回アメリカで戦ってみたい、そういった気持ちはあるんでしょう。それとも今はもう、それはもう置いておいて、それは過ぎ去ったことなので、今はライジンに集中するのか、集中するのか、どういった感じでしょうか？
そうですね。ライジン、UC で戦ってきたことはすごいいい経験だったし、すごい刺激的だったんですけど、ライジンでここまでっていうか、そう数戦しかしてないですけど、ここまで大きな団体になって盛り上がって、自分が、格闘技人気みたいなところも見てると、やっぱりこんだけなったのは、ライジン国内で、ライジンのおかげだと、ライジンで試合していきたいと。
So yeah, I fought in the UFC. I look back and it was a great experience. And I've only fought in Ryzen 3 times yet, but I do feel that Ryzen is growing and Ryzen is getting bigger and picking up the popularity. I do believe that my name is known a lot more than it used to be, and I have to thank Ryzen's popularity for that. So as of right now, I do believe that, I want to continue to grow and continue to compete in Ryzen while I can.
Of course, man. And we want to see it, and a great start here, or a great continuation, with the Satoshi fight. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But before I let you go here, Keita, I got to ask, as I mentioned, Shizuka, and I always love talking to fighters who are, married to other fighters. So I want to ask you, like, what would you say is the toughest and best part about being married to a fellow fighter?
あの、一つ聞きたいことがあってですね、自分自身もその杉山選手と何度もインタビューして、いろんな選手とインタビューするんですけれども、特にこう選手同士でご結婚されている夫婦について、一番こうチャレンジングな大変な部分だったりするものは何でしょうか？教えてください。互いが現役のファイターで夫婦でいること。
まあ、やっぱり、そこまで、ちゃんと考えられてなかったですけど、やっぱ子供できて、奥さんが試合前とかだと、やっぱりすごい精神的に不安定になっちゃう時があったりするので、まあ、今は全然そんなことないっていうか、もう今回とか、もう来週奥さん試合ですけど、全然すごい安定してるというか、穏やかにやってくれてるんで、もうそれは良かったですけど、もう自分的にはそこが大変でした、今。
For me, I haven't really thought about it, anything, when we got married, but, once we got married and it's just, after experience of having a child and, having my wife getting ready for a fight with a child, that gets really stressful and, she becomes very unstable before a fight. So that is something that I've learned that is very difficult. But now with experience, she doesn't, she's totally fine. We're totally fine. And, she has a fight next week,
Yeah.
And she's getting ready for a fight, but she's totally fine. We're not experiencing any difficulties anymore. But at the time, those are one of the things for me that I thought was stressful.
Do you guys still get nervous for each other, like when you're getting ready, like in the corners for each other's fights? Or are you guys pretty calm now, or is somebody worse than the other? Like, how are the nerves in that regard?
するときに、自分としては、例えば相手が試合するときに自分が必要以上に心配になったりとかっていうのはお互いにあったりするんですか？お互いセコンドに入ったときに、普段以上の夫婦だから、より、精神的により辛いとか、そういったものはあるんでしょうか？
そうですね。それは当然ありますね。
Of course, yeah. Yes, it's a lot harder than other people for sure.
Definitely, man. That's just the fun dynamic of it. But I wish you both the best of luck. I can't wait for both of your fights, Keita. It was great getting to chat with you, man, and very excited for it. Wishing you the best of luck with the rest of the weight cut and all that. And just a great show out there this weekend. So thanks so much for catching up, man, and best of luck with things going forward.
こちらこそありがとうございました。
Next, it's the Fat Ninja, Igor Tanabe. Hello, Igor. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good, and you? Good to see you too.
Can't complain. How's the fight week been so far? How's the media stuff?
Yeah, it's good. It's a little tiring, but it's fun, huh?
Yeah, of course. Keeping you interacting with people, take the mind off the fight and the training a little bit, right? I mean, of course, still talking about the fighting, but it's good to do something different, right?
Yeah.
Of course, man. Of course. And I got to ask, Igor, I've watched some of your interviews before. It's our first time meeting, but I didn't know you knew English. So how'd you learn, man? How's that been?
I used to live in US for like 9 months when I used to be there for jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I learned. I learned a little bit at the school but I got really better when I went to US and I started living with American friends,
Okay, cool. Which part did you live in of the U.S.?
San Diego.
Oh, that's a good spot, man. I'm sure that was fun. Yeah, the beaches and everything. It's a nice spot. Yeah. Well, man, I mean, it's been a good MMA start for you, Igor. I mean, here we are. You're rolling undefeated, man. A very exciting career so far. And I mean, outside your MMA debut, you've fought all veterans so far, submitted them all. I mean, I got to ask, Have you been surprised yourself with how successful you've been against these guys so far?
Oh yeah, it is a surprise. And always I'm confident with myself, that I would to meet them, but it's always a surprise, because in the end of the day, like they're all fighters that I used to look up to,
Yeah.
and being with them and like end up finishing them, it's like something like at the same time it's like something I trained for and it was like predicted. It's also very, like surprising.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's crazy to think that, you fought Melvin Manhoef, the legend, in your second fight. Second fight. Was that scary?
It's very scary, man. I think that was a big jump for my career, because I could say no for that fight, but something tell me like that I shouldn't do it, and like I felt like saying no for that fight, that would break a wall in my career, that I would start like just taking easy like fights that I know that I'm gonna win, and there's no fight that you know that you're gonna win.
Right,
So
right.
that fight, I like was a very big lesson for my career, I think.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding, man. It kind of, I'm sure, gave you plenty of confidence once you got the finish, right, against to be like, all
Yeah,
right,
of course.
nothing to be too worried about. I can hang with this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, would you say that was your most satisfying win so far? I'm sure they've all been, super satisfying, but which
Oh,
one?
yeah, that was very satisfying because I was very scared.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
scared to fight, to be honest.
Well,
Because, like I knew, like if you throw me a punch, you wouldn't stop. Even though I was KO'd, he would start. She would keep punching me until the referee jumps and taking off. So I was very scared.
yeah, understandable, man. He's one of the scariest fighters of
I
all
was
time.
I was very satisfied just to finish the fight alive.
Yeah, get out of there with your senses intact.
Yeah.
Of course, man. And now we're 3 fights into the Ryzen career. You blazed through it last year. Great 2023. Like, just how has it been competing with Ryzen and like on this stage, like this early in your career, man? Has that been like, has it just gone like quicker than you expected, right?
Yeah, it was one of my my first goals of MMA. When I started here in Japan, I wanted to fight on Rising, and I'm a fan. I used to be. I'm still a fan. I like to watch Rising a lot, and it's like competing for them. It's very amazing. It's like a dream come true. Like I still sometimes I will look at where I am, and I like the when I like the wall call. I say what. Look where I am.
Yeah, definitely, man. And like, do you have a favorite fighter or somebody like that you've looked up to?
In Rising,
Just in general.
yeah, I used to look up to a lot to Satoshi, Clever, because there are like all those like all the guys that I used to have connections since Jiu-Jitsu, from Jiu-Jitsu,
Right.
and we kind of pretty much base, like Japanese, Brazilians, started with Jiu-Jitsu, so but like in overall, I like a lot like Charles the Bronx. I like a lot, Alex Pereira, even though like we're
Very
like
different.
I like him a lot.
Yes, can't go wrong with those guys. Plenty of great champions right now. So some good choices, man. But, you're on your way, Igor, and, got this big fight here with another veteran, right? Strasser Kichi standing in front of you, man. Like, I'm sure you've been familiar with him. Like, how exciting is this one for you, for the fourth Ryzen fight, another veteran? What do you make of him as the matchup?
Yeah, I'm very excited, especially because this time I'm gonna fight in Kobe. I have a place that I've never fought Rising before, so different people, I think. But the fight for me is gonna be the same thing as all the fights I have done. Like it's gonna be first round submission for sure.
Absolutely, man. And I'm curious, like, that's always an interesting thing with fighters who are like really good submission artists or knockout guys. You're the submission guy, right? But sometimes people eventually, after so many wins, they kind of want to show off their skills more because people will be like, oh, they can't strike. So once they fight a guy who stops their ground game, then they might be in trouble. Do you want to show off like the striking a little bit in this one, or is it just like I'm going in there to get him out of there?
Yeah, I'm going there to live there as fast as I can. So I don't have like I know that like that time's gonna come, to show my strike. striking. Because I've been training striking every day for like almost a year already, you know.
Mhm.
I know that I'm like getting better, but I don't think I need to like if I can handle a fight without using my striking, it's better, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, the less damage you can take, and you're not getting paid by the
Yeah,
minute, so get in there, get out, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So with that in mind, man, like, as you do have these more fights and you rack up these submissions, do you think it's pretty obvious for your opponents where they're going to try to just avoid the ground at all costs for you? Like, are you thinking he's going to try and, you know, go for the knockouts, or what are you expecting from him and where he'll be most
I
dangerous?
I expect him trying to keep the fight for 3 rounds or trying to KO, but I think he's gonna try to like actually like MMA, you know, like
Hmm.
cut the defenses and you know like don't let me get my takedown. You know, is I think because I don't think he has uh like a striking to knock me out,
Okay.
but I do think he does, but yeah, I don't think I think that's gonna happen. He's gonna try to bring the fight to the end and like beat me with like um his experience, you know.
Right. Right.
But I don't know like, and he think like it's always you know like all the fights I had like I have 5 fights already. Everybody knows like that I'm a grappler, you know. They all know like they have to like always try to not stay on the ground,
Yeah.
but it's easy, you know.
It's going to get there eventually. It's just a matter of when,
Yeah,
right?
and once you get there, you know, like it's not that easy to leave, you know.
Yes, definitely, man. Especially when you get them early and they're dry, right? The sweat
Yeah.
is a big thing, huh? Yeah. So it's interesting, Igor. I mean, I got to point out, man, it doesn't look like it didn't dye the hair for this fight, right? Is it all natural?
I was thinking like what I can do, what like what else, like what color I can like paint my hair that I never did, and I realized that I never fought in black hair. So
Yeah. There we go.
yeah,
Yeah.
for this fight I fought with the black. I'm gonna just go with the black hair.
Of course, man, got to get all the colors in check. So
Yeah,
there you go. And one of the stars of the welterweight division right now, Igor, which is kind of still building and rising, right? Like there's no title yet or no champion that's happened at
yeah,
your weight class. So I'm curious, like, are you kind of hoping to get a welterweight title created? Is that what you would say the current goal is, or are you
yeah.
just kind of working on the experience?
wanted- I really wanted to do it. You know, make the belt. I think that would be better for the division. You know, it'd be like easier for the everybody to understand. You know,
Yeah, for sure. Have you
but
heard any talks about him maybe doing that soon?
yes, I hope so.
Of course, and you could kick it off maybe with the Grand Prix, bring back a tournament like they've done the last couple of years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Definitely, man. And I got to ask you, Igor, like I said, a great 2023 for you, 3 fights last year. What would you say is like the perfect number of fights for you in one year? Because you're finishing them so quick. Like, I'm imagining you could do more, but for you, what's the perfect
Yeah,
number, man?
now because they dropped my weight class for to welterweight,
Hmm.
the perfect number would be like 3 to 4. You know,
Hmm.
like last year I did three, but I did three like from July, end of July to end of December. So that was like 5 months, and I did 3 fights. That was I think kind of too much. I don't want to do
Yeah.
it again.
Spread it out a little bit.
Yeah, I want to spread it out a little bit. I want to do this year, this weekend, and then like they have a big event in July, and I hope I can make that one too. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a good show,
or the
man.
one more.
For sure. And then, of course, there's always the New Year's one. Get on both of those and another
Yeah,
great year.
amazing.
Well, man, Igor, I don't want to keep you too much longer here, man. I appreciate you taking the time, but I got to
Yeah.
ask you, man, like, if you never got into combat sports, what do you think you'd be doing instead, man?
I think I would
Tough question.
be like gamer maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I like gaming a lot. But I don't know. I like designing, you know, I like those like computer stuffs.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you could still do the gaming as a career right now, do some streaming.
Yeah, I think about it, you know. I see a lot of fighters doing it, but I'm still teaching. You know, I have other jobs, so I have to like kind of have more time to do it. But it's
Right.
not it's an option for me.
Yeah, for sure. What's the game you're playing right now? Got a couple, or what you playing?
Oh what?
What games are you playing right now?
I like to play FIFA a lot.
Okay, soccer guy,
Yeah,
football.
yeah,
Do you have a team?
yeah. I have Team Corinthians.
Okay, there we go. There we
So
go.
yeah, it's yes.
All right, man. Yeah. So, potential. Got to get a stream going. We can get some more side stuff,
Yeah,
man. But
yeah, I have to try to do that.
of course, of course. But we got the fight to worry about first, Igor. So looking forward to it. I wish you the best of luck, man. Great getting to
So
chat with you, and it's been great watching your career so far. And many more wins. Here's to another good year, man. So appreciate you.
so
Best of
much.
luck with everything.
Thank you.
And we will close things out with Buakaw. All right. Well, Buakaw, great to see you, sir. Awesome to have you back, getting ready for another Ryzen fight. I mean, just how's the day going? How are you doing?
今、ライジンの下でもっていいか調子どうですか
กลับมาไลจีแล้วโบตอนนี้สภาพร่างกายเป็นยังไงบ้าง
โอเคดีครับไม่มีปัญหานะครับพร้อมเต็มที่ที่จะมาชกในครั้งนี้เพราะว่าเราก็เตรียมพร้อมมาโดยตลอดอยู่แล้วในการชกในครั้งนี้นมกัน
はい、もう今コンディションは100%です。自分としては常に準備ができているので、いつでも大丈夫なんですけれども、今は本当にいい状態で日本に来てます。
My condition is at 100%. I always train, so I'm always ready. So depending on, it really doesn't matter about the offer. I'm always ready to fight, and I will be prepared to fight this time as well.
Of course, man, a true fighter through and through. And I know everybody's asking you about it, but like this fight obviously came together, was announced very quickly, very recently. So like from your end, did you know about it for a while? How did it all come together in the first place?
して組まれたのか、もうだいぶ前からオファーあったんですか？発表は短かったけど。
ทางไลจีก็เปิดเผยแค่เปิดเผยว่าภายในอาทิตย์นี้คือระยะสั้นมากๆเลยแต่สำหรับตัวเขาก็ดูได้ตั้งแต่เมื่อไหร่หรือว่าระยะเวลาเตรียมร่างกายเนี่ยพอไหมคะ
จริงๆแล้วถามเพิ่งเตรียมการฝึกซ้อมและเกี่ยนร่างกายก็คิดว่าก็พอสมควรคิดว่าพอสมควรเพราะว่าแล้วก็ถือว่าเร็วไปไหมที่ได้รู้ว่าเราจะชกก็ถือว่าเร็วเพราะว่าการเตรียมตัวอาจจะกระชั้นชิดนิดนึงนะครับแต่ว่าก่อนนั้นเราซ้อมมาก่อนอยู่แล้วนะครับเราฝึกซ้อมมาโดยตลอดอยู่แล้วก็คงไม่มีปัญหาสำหรับการที่จะชกในครั้งนี้ครับ
はい、自分としては常に準備はしているので、さっきも言ったように問題はないんですけれども、確かにその練習期間が長いか短いかという質問に関しては確かに短くて突然決まったような感じではありました。ただいつもずっと練習は常に同じ状態で続けているので、今回の試合に関しても全く問題はないです。
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm always constantly training. I'm always prepared. I'm always ready. So the time of the offer really doesn't matter. Obviously, short, long, yeah, this was definitely a short notice fight. But like I said earlier, I'm going to go in there. I'm ready. And, I'm just going to do what I do.
Absolutely. And, you got Kimura here as your opponent. I mean, have you had any time to really look at him and prepare for him, or is it just kind of go in there and do your thing with the tools you have, or what are you kind of expecting from him, this guy that, you haven't had a lot of time to prepare for?
方をしてくるのかっていうのはある程度把握していますか？
สำหรับคู่ชกนะคะคิมูระนะคะคือศึกษาคลิปวิดีโอมาหรือเปล่าคะหรือว่าคือเทคนิคของเขาว่าเป็นยังไงก็พอรู้แล้วหรือยัง จริงๆแล้วก็เทคนิคหรือว่าการสไตล์การชกเขาเราเคยดูอยู่แล้วนะเพราะว่าเขาก็เคยชกในรายการนักมวยไทยมาเหมือนกันเพราะว่าเราก็เคยเห็นเขาชกในรายการเรื่อยๆมาเหมือนกันคงเราก็แก้เกมแล้วก็แก้เตรียมตัวในการชกในครั้งนี้อย่างดี木村選手の試合に関してはムエタイスタイルでも試合してたのでこれまでにも何回も見てきてますし研究は十分にできていると思います。で今回に関してもきちんと彼のテクニックその他に関しても、研究してきてますので、はい、いいなんていうのかな、考察というかはできていると思います。
So I've known Kimura for a while. I mean, he's fought under Muay Thai rules. He fought fellow Muay Thai fighters before. So I know how he fights, and I do believe that I have enough information to comfortably take this fight. So as far as I do have a good idea on what he's good at and what kind of fight he's going to bring. So I am not worried in any aspect of that part.
And I mean, you've just had millions of fights in general, Buakaw. You got the longest resume, one of them out there, man, always winning all the time against just, you name it, everybody. So, like, does anything even surprise you anymore at this point? You've seen it all.
やっていますが、若尾選手がいろんな経験してきてる中で、いろんなオファーだったりあると思うんですけど、もはやこの時点で驚いたりしますか？どんなオファーがあっても。
คือเขาบอกว่าเขาก็มีประสบการณ์เยอะเขาก็ชกมานานแล้วทางรายการไหนก็ได้ถ้าเขาให้ชกมันแบบนี้มีหลายอย่างใช่ไหมคะก็มีรายการไหนน่าตกใจหรือเปล่าคะ
จริงๆแล้วก็การที่ชกมานะครับ ถ้าเกิดว่ามีรายการอะไรที่น่าตกใจคือในรายการที่เราเคยอาจจะมีขึ้นชกมวยสากลมากกว่านะครับ แต่ว่าสไตล์เรื่องการคิกบ็อกซิ่งเรือต่างๆเราไม่มีปัญหาอยู่แล้วนะครับแค่นั้น
そうですね。本当に自分は経験も長いですし、長い間やってきてますが、びっくりするというか、やはりボクシングスタイルでやらないかというオファーに関しては、ちょっと考えたりもしますけれども、キックボクシングスタイルでしたら、相手が誰でも驚くようなことはないです。
So as you mentioned, I do have a long career. I fought a lot. So yes, not many things do surprise me. So but obviously, if I would have to fight under boxing rules or something different, yes, that would kind of throw me off a little bit. But anything under kickboxing rules, I don't think anything will faze me or surprise me.
Absolutely, man. And just speaking of that and going off it, you had some bare knuckle matches recently, which you got wins in. I got to ask you, like, what was that like? Taking the gloves off and doing matches without the gloves.
その経験はどうでしたか？グローブなしの打撃の試合っていうのはどういう経験でしたか？
คือชกที่ไม่ใส่นวมใช่ไหมคะ
ใช่ครับ
คือเป็นเขาถามว่าเป็นประสบการณ์เป็นยังไงบ้าง
ใช่ครับก็จริงๆแล้วก็จริงเคยชกมาไม่ใส่นวมมา2 ครั้งแล้วก็เป็นประสบการณ์ใหม่ๆอะไรที่เราไม่เคยแล้วก็เคยมาหมดแล้วก็คือคิดว่ามันไม่มีอะไรที่ลำบากสำหรับการที่เราชก
はい、実際グローブつけない試合というのは2回目だったんですけれども、そういう新しい挑戦というか、そういうのってすごく自分にとっては面白いと思っているので、その格闘技というくくりの中ではすごくいい経験だし、楽しんでます。
So yeah, that was technically my second bare knuckle fight. But for me, challenging new rules under combat rules, it's something that interests me. And it's a very interesting thing to do. And as for combat sports, I think it's definitely a good challenge for me to have every once in a while.
And when you've had as many fights as you have had in your career, Buakaw, I'm curious, like, can you remember like most of them, or does it get hard to keep track when you like think back about all the fights you've had?
振り返ってみて、試合って全部思い出せますか？それとももうだいぶもう覚えてる試合と覚えてない試合があるのか、それともやっぱり一個一個覚えてるのか、どういう感じでしょうか？
คือชกมาหลายร้อยครั้งใช่ไหมคะคือสำหรับบัวขาวเนี่ยจำได้ทุกชกหรือว่ามีบางครั้งก็จำได้มีบางครั้งก็จำไม่ค่อยได้
ใช่
เป็นยังไงบ้างคะ
จริงๆแล้วก็ในประสบการณ์ที่เราเคยชกมาตั้งแต่เด็กๆนะครับก็ชกมาโดยตลอดในอาชีพนักมวยเราไม่เคยพอเรามาเป็นนักอาชีพนักมวยเราไม่เคยไปทำอย่างอื่นเราชกได้มวยอย่างเดียวนะครับในการชกแล้วก็บางครั้งก็จำไม่ได้ว่าชกกับใครมั่งบางคนที่เคยชกกับเราเขาก็มาเคยชกกับบัวขาวนะบัวขาวเคยชกจำไม่ได้เหมือนกันอะไรเงี้ยครับเคยชกที่นั่นที่นี่เขาเพิ่งจำได้อย่างเงี้ยก็มีหลากหลายทำให้เรารู้สึกมันเป็นประสบการณ์ที่มืออาชีพสำหรับผมที่ผมได้อยู่ในวงการมวยมาโดยตลอด
はい、自分は実際にも子供の頃からムエタイをやってきて、で、そこからプロになって、仕事っていうか、プロとしては、ムエタイ、格闘技の選手ということしかやってなくて、他の仕事っていうのは一切したことがないので、で、その中で何百試合もしてきて、やはり中には、覚えてない試合もあって、で、 たまたま会った時に、前やったの覚えてるとか聞かれて、悪い覚えてないっていう時もあります。はい。
So yeah, I've been training Muay Thai from a child, and this is what I do for a living, and this is the only thing I know how to do as a living. So yes, I've been doing this for a very long time, and to be honest, yes, there are a few fights that I don't remember that I've forgotten. For an example, I would run into somebody and say, "Oh, we fought before," and I would have to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember." Some of those occasions do come up now and then.
That's amazing, man. And not surprising, though, again, with the number and frequency that you have. And just to kind of circle back to that, if you've things that might surprise you and whatnot, kind of one of the stories about this fight here with Kimura has been his, recent drug test failure. And I'm going to assume, obviously, that it doesn't bother you or anything because you have taken the fight. But was there any hesitancy or just kind of the overall thoughts on, that part of the story with this fight?
今回の対戦相手の木村選手っていうのは、その日本ではドーピングで陽性出たっていうことで、有名になってしまった選手なんですけども、それを経て、試合を受けたっていうことは、ブアカオ選手はそういうのはあんまり気にしないというか、そういうのは、どういうふうに思ったのか、試合を受けたと思うので、ただそういうステロイドを使った選手に対して、そういうのと戦うっていうのは、どういう今現状で試合を受けたんでしょうか。
คือสำหรับคิมระนี่ก็เคยใช้โดปยาใช่ไหมคะก็เลยทำให้มันทำให้ดังด้วยแล้วบัวขาวก็รับปากว่าจะชกกับคิมระเนี่ยมันมีความหมายเป็นยังไงบ้างหรือว่าคือสำหรับคนที่เคยใช้ยาโดปเนี่ยมัน
ไปจริงเรา
พูดมาให้เราไม่เคยต่อย40-70 กิโล70 กิโลปกติลากที่สุด69อันนั้น67ที่นี่เข้ามาพูดมาเป็นพวกข่าวใช้โดปปิ้งก็ไม่โอเคมาเลยไม่มีช่างน้ำหนักแค่10 กิโลเข้าเครื่องพวกเขาเอาที่ชุดในเกตต่อ74ทิ้งข้าวมาเลยไม่สนใจข้าว74ถ้าชีวิตข้าวเป็นใช้โดปปิ้งชื่อพูดมาเป็นพวกเขาเดินมาแค่ไม่เคยพูดคนผิดแบบนี้เราให้มาที่ญี่ปุ่นปิดปากเขาแกบอกเขาเป็นใคร
จริงๆแล้วในการที่เขาใช้ลบมันก็เป็นสไตล์ของเขานะครับก็รายการของเขาก็อาจจะลงโทษเขาแล้วแต่นะครับในส่วนของผมไม่ได้ซีเรียสผมต่อยน้ำหนักที่เยอะขึ้นทำให้เขารู้ว่าผมไม่มีอะไรผมใช้ร่างกายของผมแล้วก็ผมใช้ความเก่งของผมมืออาชีพของผมพกมาโดยตลอดอยู่แล้วผมไม่เคยเอาเปรียบคนอื่นผมไม่เคยเอาเปรียบใครนะครับ
そうですね、木村選手が、ドーピングしてたということに関しては、ある意味彼のスタイルだと思うんですよ。ですので、今回試合を受けることによって、逆に自分はもう本当になんていうのかな、ピュアであるっていうことを逆に分かってほしいし、でそれがプロであるっていうことも、彼には分かってほしいと思うし、でまた74キロっていう体重でやることに関しても自分は受けました。そのことに関してもプロとしてそういうオファーがあったら受けるんだよ、自分は本当にこれまでもプロとしてやってきてるんだよっていうところを逆に知ってほしいなというふうに思ってます。
So I think using PEDs is definitely one of Kimura's characteristics from his fighting style. I guess that's one of his strong points, obviously. But for me, I take pride, and I am confident that I'm very proud that I've never taken some sorts of any kind of drugs in my life, in my career. And I'm very proud to say that, and I'm here to prove that. I'm proud to be a professional. I'm here to show him what a professional does and how a professional fights. This fight is going to be held at 74 kilos, which is a lot heavier than my regular weight class. But if the offer is there, I will take the fight. I will not question it, and I will take the fight because that's what professionals do. So hopefully, with my showing of professionalism, I can teach him that there are other ways to be a professional fighter.
ごめんなさい、あと一つ言ってたのは、ですので自分がなんていうのか、ずるいというか、何か正当な方法がない方法を使って、相手に有利になろうとしたことは一回もないですし、そういうことは やっちゃいけないっていうか、当然のことなんですけれども、それもちょっと分かってほしいなと。
Because throughout my career, I have never thought about taking some illegal substances or something unethical to take advantage of my opponent. I have never thought about it, and I have never done that. So I hope that I can show with how I fight and how I've taken this fight with my actions. I can show and teach him on how true professionals truly take advantage of the fight.
And, just speaking of that professionalism, Buakaw, I mean, I got to ask you, what kind of happened with the Manny Pacquiao fight? Because that was something that you had planned for a while, I know, into last year, and I heard it just got canceled, maybe rumors of the promoter leaving or something like that. And if I'm curious if it's a fight you still want to make happen, like, what kind of is the whole situation with that?
どんな状況で延期されてしまったのか
ก็คำถามเดิมนะคะคือเรื่องการชกกับแมนนี่ปาเกียวนะคะคือเขาก็บอกว่าช่วยบอกเท่าที่พูดได้นะคะว่าคือสถานการณ์ตอนนี้เป็นยังไงบ้าง
ก็สถานการณ์อย่างที่ทุกคนรู้ตอนนี้ก็อาจจะเป็นการเลื่อนออกไปนะครับโดยไม่มีกำหนดวันยังไม่รู้ว่าจะวันไหนครับเขาก็ต้องรอตอบรับกับคนจัดนะครับว่าจะเมื่อไรยังไงอีกทีหนึ่งครับ
はい、そうですね。パッキャオ選手との試合は、延期になってるんですけれども、いつかは、試合するということで契約上は続いてますが、今のところ、それがいつになるかは全く分かってない状態ですが、話し合いは進めています。
So my understanding is that the fight has gotten postponed. It hasn't gotten canceled. As far as contractual obligations wise, the fight is still happening. We just don't know when. So my understanding is that the fight is not off. It has been postponed.
Okay, well, that is good news then, yeah, because I was seeing cancellation things, but I'm glad to hear from your perspective that maybe we can still get it. That'd be fun. But all right, Buakaw, last thing I will leave you with, man. Appreciate the time so much. Just as the living legend you are, I gotta ask you, man. Like, I'm sure people come up to you on a daily basis, probably asking you for advice, especially young up and coming fighters. So I'm curious, what would you say is the best piece of advice you could give for somebody who's starting out in Muay Thai or just fighting in general?
本当にもうレジェンドである、若尾選手に本当にこれから格闘技始めたい、ムエタイを始めたいっていう子供たちに向けて一番何かアドバイス一つあげれるとしたらどんなアドバイスですか?
คือสำหรับบัวขาวก็เป็นดีเจนเป็นตำนานของมวยไทยอยู่แล้วใช่ไหมคะแล้วสำหรับเด็กๆที่อยากจะเริ่มชกมวยอะไรก็แล้วแต่นะคะถ้าให้คำแนะนำพวกเยาวชนพวกเด็กๆเนี่ยเพื่อยังไง
ก็จริงแล้วในการที่ผมก็เคยแนะนำให้กับเยาวชนหรือว่าคนอื่นๆในการแนะนำในการอยากจะเป็นนักมวยในหลักกีฬาที่มืออาชีพจริงแล้วต้องเริ่มด้วยการตัวเองเลยก่อนนะครับตัวเองชอบแค่ไหนแล้วก็อยากจะเป็นนักมวยอาชีพแค่ไหนอยากจะเก่งแบบไหนนะครับแล้วก็ให้เขานั้นพยายามที่จะศึกษาแล้วก็มาฝึกซ้อมให้ตัวเองก่อนนะครับพอฝึกซ้อมในตัวเองให้รู้ความชอบความออกกำลังกายเป็นแบบไหนนั่นแหละคือสิ่งที่เขาจะเริ่มต้นได้ดีครับ
自分はこうしてプロとしてやってきて若い子どもたちやもっと小さい子どもたちにもいろんなアドバイスをしてきましたけれども、やっぱり一番は自分が好きであるということが大事だと思ってて、でその中で自分が自分がやりたいスポーツの中でどのレベル、どのくらいのなんていうのかな、今どのくらいの位置にいるかっていうのを理解した上で、自分のための練習をすごく大事にしてほしいというふうに思ってて、まずは、スポーツを続ける以上は、自分のことを優先というか、自分のための練習でいいんだよということを言い続けてます。
So I've given many advices to many kids and children who I have looked at, but what I always say this is that first, you have to love what you do. You have to love the sport that you're doing. And two, you have to look at yourself from a perspective and understand your level. And you have to do the right practice at your level at the time. So whatever you train, you have to train for yourself, not for others. You have to analyze yourself and know where you're at and pick the right training that fits your level. So you have to be somewhat selfish in order to train for what you need to work on at the time. So that is the strongest advice that I can give.
Oh, I love that. I think it's great advice, and no one knows better than you, sir. So some good stuff there, but it'll be good stuff in the ring this weekend, Buakaw. So I appreciate you taking the time so much, man. Best of luck with everything. Hope the rest of the week goes well, and enjoy Japan. Thank you so much for taking the time.
ขอขอบคุณมากๆแล้วกันมัน